Hey, this is Larry Kirby. I just wanted to share with you something that happened to me the other night, something actually very personal with my own son. You know, the other night we had some family over for family dinner and had a good time. Well, it was time to clean up and it was time to clean the dishes. And I told my son, hey son, whatever dishes don't fit in the dishwasher, please hand wash so there's no dishes in the sink tomorrow morning. And he was already upset about a few things and doing a few things, which was interesting because when our kids get upset about having to do some chores around the house or do something, it's one thing for them to be upset, and it's another thing for them to be disrespectful and be upset at the same time. Now, it's okay for them to be upset and not overly happy about it, but so often when our kids get upset, we just go down their throat like, this is ridiculous, don't get an attitude with me, you shouldn't be upset, almost making them wrong for being upset. And how often with you and your significant other are you upset at them and then they're upset at you because they don't think you should be upset with them, and it's making each other wrong. Okay, so it's okay for your child to be upset, but it's what they do with it that's important. And the moment they start being disrespectful, that's when you need to follow through with the consequence and do something about it. Well, with my son, he was upset and he wasn't being disrespectful, but he said, Dad, he said, someone stopped the dishwasher. He said, and because of that, otherwise they would already go through the cycle. My other brother would have unloaded them and this would have been a lot easier. And really upset, he said, Dad, whoever stopped this dishwasher made my life more difficult. And so much of my ego wanted to jump in and say, dude, are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. Like, don't complain to me. But luckily, this was a good experience for me, and I was able to keep my ego in check. And I just looked at my son, and I took a deep breath, and I waited about 3 to 5 seconds, and I looked at him, and I said, son, you're right. It did make your life more difficult. And then he just paused and he looked at me and he said, Dad, this is just unfair. And then I waited a few more seconds and I looked at him and I said, wow, you're right. This is unfair. And then I waited a few more seconds and then I turned around and walked away. And about 3 to 5 minutes later, I walked back in the kitchen and he was calm and he was doing what he needed to do. And I thought, man, there's so many things I could have done in that moment to push him further into fight or flight or into his brainstem by making him wrong for being upset or getting down his throat like, this is ridiculous. Everything I do, I mean, how many times as a parent you get into that? Everything I do for you, all I'm asking you to do is to do the dishes. Is this too hard? But for once, I was able to get out of my ego and just agree with them. You're right. Without being manipulative, without being rude, without being disrespectful to him, and just to be there in that moment. And as a result, him and I drew closer to that and through that experience. And then later that night, I went and I sat on his bed and I said, son, I'm so proud of you. I could tell you are really upset about everything that happened tonight. But man, you really changed it around pretty quickly and you got the job done. Man, I'm really proud of you. I know sometimes it's not fun to do chores. I know it's sometimes hard. I said, I know it's sometimes hard to have a dad telling you what to do. I said, man, I'm just trying to figure out this whole dad thing myself. And man, I make a lot of mistakes, but I'm working on it. And I just want you to know I'm really proud of you. And it was a really neat connection that him and I had because we were both really real. I mean, if that's a word, really real, I guess, but we were both real with each other and neither of us were making each other wrong. And we just embraced in that moment and just hugged each other. And we were a lot closer because of it. Because as a parent, for once, I was able to keep my ego out of the situation. And I can't help to think how often as a parent do we allow our ego or making our kids wrong destroy our relationship with them. And so I invite you, when your kids are upset about doing their contributions, instead of kind of jumping down their throat and making them defensive and putting them further into their brainstem, to just take a step back. And as long as they're not being disrespectful, because that's not okay for your kids to be disrespectful, there's got to be a consequence there. But just kind of take a step back and get into their world for a moment, and use that one-liner, use some type of one-liner to just show some empathy and say, like, I get it. It isn't fun to take out the trash when you're playing a game. Like, it isn't fun to vacuum every day, or whatever that is for you and your situation. Hey, thank you for listening to a few things that I just wanted to share with you. Good luck to you, and remember to return to gratitude.